Welcome. I'd like to call to order the monthly meeting of the Avon Board of Education at 7 o'clock on October 17th. I will begin with a roll call so that those of you who are joining us are familiar with who is sitting up here at the table. I will start with our board members and myself. I am Deb Shute, the chair. We have Thage Singh, our vice chair.
Present, thank you, Deb.
Jeff Fleischman, our secretary.
Present, thank you.
Jackie Blea.
Present, thanks, Deb.
Laura Young.
Present, thank you.
Lynn Katz.
Present, thank you, Deb.
Liz Summercorn.
Present, thank you.
Sarah Thompson.
Present, thank you.
And Nicole Russo.
Present, thank you.
And our administrators, Dr. Carnamola, our superintendent.
Present, thank you.
Mr. Giannini, assistant superintendent.
Here, thank you.
Mr. Medic, assistant superintendent.
Present, thank you.
Ms. Russo, our business manager.
Present, thank you.
And Ms. Sardinskis, our executive assistant to the superintendent and board clerk. Thank you. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. I'm very excited to have so many young faces sitting in the crowd tonight. So I'd like to begin our meetings by reading our mission statement because it reminds us of the work that we have come here to do together. Our mission is to inspire in each student a joy and a passion for learning and a commitment to excellence, personal integrity, and social responsibility. This is always the best segue into our recognition piece as well. So I believe since we have just no or
No, he's leading off, that's all.
okay, then you're good. Okay, should I invite all three? Okay, so we have representation here from Pine Grove, Roaring Brook, and Thompson Brook. So I'd love to have Mr. Sturm come forward. I have Miss Horvath. My goodness, I'm sorry. I was going to say Susan. I'm like, no, say the last name. And then, of course, Miss Borio, or Amy if we're being relaxed. Okay, here we go. So please come forward.
I messed her up.
Yeah, I was like, don't say Susan, say Horvath. Okay, take it away.
Thank you so much. So you just read the mission statement, and we all love that it begins in the first sentence with the word joy. And it's our mission and it's our goal, of course, to teach so many different kinds of things to our students. And one of the things that we maybe spend, I think we do spend a lot of time on it very appropriately, is kind of like how to be your best human. And so all three of the elementary schools were really honored through help through our PTOs to have Katie Wood join us over the last couple of weeks. And she gave presentations at all the different levels, met all of our students, and we think it had a beautiful and positive impact upon all of our kids. You know, one of our goals, and it is an explicit goal from the blueprint in our focus area 2, is to talk about, and if you can click to the next slide, Christine, that would be great, is to talk about social emotional learning. And the definition is up there. I won't read it all to you, but this is a really critical part of all of our kids' experiences, supporting their emotional intelligence, giving ways to have them be self-directed individuals who feel comfortable out and about in the world. And so I'm going to forget your last names also, right? Mrs. Borio and Ms. Horvath here. All three of us are really excited to share with you the impressions of 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. So really through their eyes and ears, the experience of having Ms. Wood come. So I can invite, please, all of the presenters up here. And I think, Ms. Horvath, you kick it off.
Absolutely.
All right.
And can we, Tom, can I disconnect this? Okay. All right. So just for a little background, we had Katie Wood come to all 3 schools. And when she was at Roaring Brook, she spoke to the 3rd and 4th graders, and I'm sure Mrs. Borio and Mr. Sturm will talk about who she spoke with at their events at their schools. And what was really special when she came to Roaring Brook is that she is actually a Roaring Brook graduate, and we know she's an Avon graduate, so she was very excited to be able to see the cafeteria, see what it looked like. She took a lap around the school, and that was wonderful. So our Roaring Brook 3, we have Molly Baker, Elliot Weeks, and Dylan Luabea, and they are going to talk a little bit about what they learned from Katie Wood in the presentation, since this was their first experience with her. All right, so we'll have Molly go, and I can hold this for you. Talk about what did you learn from this presentation, Molly? And do you want them facing this way? All right, let's go ahead and face this way so you can. All right.
I learned that there is a part in the back of your brain called the RAS, and if you say you're going to have a bad day, you're going to have a bad day. But if you say you're going to have a good day, you're going to have a good day.
Awesome. And Elliot, what did you learn from the presentation?
Even if you have a bad part of your day, that doesn't mean your whole day is gonna be the worst day of your life. It could still be like one of the best.
And Dylan, what did you learn from Miss Wood?
I learned that there is this thing called gratitude, and if you're having a bad day, if you should be thankful for what you had. If you're having a bad day, just think of the things you have and be thankful that you're still having a good day of your life.
Love that. We are so lucky and so thankful for our PTO to sponsor this, and they actually gave all of our third graders gratitude journals. So we're just going to share a little bit, and I know that the other students will share. They've been doing it for a little longer, but do you want to tell us what you've been doing in your journal called A Simple Seed for the past couple weeks?
Well, we've been basically reading a passage and then writing 3 things we're grateful for. And then we're writing like I am. And then we're doing a daily challenge. And then we write who are we going to make smile today.
Oh, that was a big theme. Awesome, Molly. And Elliot, what are you writing about in your journal?
And one of the things for the I am sentence, it's something very positive, not negative.
Great point. And Dylan, what about you in your journal? What are you working on?
I'm working on of things I'm thankful for in gratitude.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thanks, Roaring Brook. Off to Mrs. Borio.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Well, I'm going to one-up your story, Miss Horvath, about Katie Wood, because we have Katie Wood's best friend at our school. So Mrs. Matos is one of our teachers, and she's the one who brought the Simple Seed Journal to us and introduced us to it. And she asked me to come a couple of times last year to her classroom to see it in action. We got to watch Katie Wood live on the Today Show with her class, and then she Zoomed with her class and really got the kids to be able to talk a little bit more about this gratitude journal, and we really tested it out. So I have brought with me this evening 2 students from last year, well, in 4th grade, who last year piloted this and kind of kicked it off with their class to learn a little bit more about gratitude. So Megan Joshta and Elias Rafay are going to share a little bit about their experiences. So you guys are going to turn around.
Okay. Last year, our teacher, Mrs. Matos, introduced us to Katie Wood's book, A Simple Seed Journal. We used it every morning, and it really helped us learn about being a good person and how to use our skills when times get hard.
Each day has a passage to read. Then we would write about what we were grateful for, I am statements, who we could make smile that day, and we would read the joke.
The part of the journal I liked best is who can I make smile today. I would think who I could make smile, and I would keep that in the back of my head and try my best to make them smile throughout the day. When I saw the person smile, it just made you feel so good, like you've achieved the greatest thing ever. It stuck with you for the rest of the day, and it made you feel so good, and it made the other person feel good as well. It would cause a whole ripple effect of kindness.
The message of the day was special each day, and it would make you think about things you don't usually think about. One of my favorites is you can't quit on a bad day. It taught us that you are going to have bad days. When you are going to want to quit, nobody likes when things feel hard or you aren't good enough. I like it because I do soccer, and sometimes I have bad days on soccer. I feel like I should quit some days because I don't do good. But this passage reminded me that I shouldn't give up. I should keep going, which will make me better and help me learn from my mistakes. The reason you can't quit on a bad day is because it's easy to quit on a bad day. But quitting on a good day makes you think a bit more why you feel that way.
I love this. So I sat with these 2 and really asked them my questions about why did you like the journal and what was really special to you. And what really stuck out is as we were sitting having these conversations, they had a journal in front of them and they were going through it and they were picking, oh, remember this day? And this is last year that they used it. And Megan said, remember the day about you can't quit? And Elia said, yes, you can't you can't quit on a bad day. You quit on a good day, but you can't quit on a bad day. And they went back and forth and had this lovely conversation. So we typed up all of their ideas and then we decided on the best ones to share with you all. So thank you. You did a wonderful job. And
All right, we're next door to her best friend. How about that? We're just up the sidewalk. All right. I'm so honored that we have two representatives from Thompson Brook with Alex Kogel and Tommy Schultz. And I sat with these boys earlier on this week to talk about their experiences listening to Miss Wood. And I am so impressed, and I know you're going to be so impressed with their takeaways, really about kind of the power of the brain. So, Alex, you ready? All right, here we go.
Hello, my name is Alexander Kogel, and I am going to talk about our presentation from Katie Wood earlier this September. She talked about how you can improve your mindset and also how you can show gratitude and how that can better your life. Today, I'm going to be focusing on the mindset aspect of this presentation. In her presentation, she talked about RAS, the reticular activating system. It's basically the gatekeeper to your brain. In other words, it decides what gets into your brain. So, let's say you think about some stuff in the morning, say it's good or bad. Your RAS is going to say, all right, this is what you thought about. This is the type of day we're going to have based on those thoughts. We can use RAS in our life to set up a good day for yourself. Let's say in the morning you wake up when your RAS is nice and fresh. And you think some thoughts. Maybe they're positive, maybe they're negative. Let's say in this case they're positive. Positive thoughts, when you think those positive thoughts, your RAS will say, okay, this is the type of day we're going to have. We're going to have a great day. But if you think negative thoughts, you're going to say, this is the type of day we're going to have. It's not going to be a so great day. It's going to be a negative type of day. Throughout the day, it's easiest for us to focus on the bad. Small interactions can even just ruin your day. For example, Mr. Sherm, I could say, I like your vest. I like your tie.
Thank you.
I like your glasses. But I don't like the way your hair is styled. Now, this is just a hypothetical.
My wife would agree, but okay.
Now, in what I said, what do you guys remember the most? The hair. Your brain. So, us as humans, we naturally focus on bad things 2, 3, or even 4 times more than the good things. In other words, your brain naturally puts a lot of stress on those bad things instead of all the good and all the compliments. I gave him 4 compliments, and you guys only focused on the one insult I said about his hair. To give another example, in my life, I do a lot of swimming. Now, based on my size and how the age group system works, I might be swimming against people who are bigger than me and older than me. And in factoring that in, they might be faster and stronger. A lot of the times, I might go into the race thinking I won't win. But if I think that, then I definitely won't win, because I won't push myself as hard as I can. Instead of thinking about that negative thing that I probably won't win, think about that good thing. Like, say I raced and I dropped time, but I came last place. So what? I dropped time. That's the good thing. You need to focus on that instead of, oh, I came last place. It's easy to get discouraged if you're only focused on that one result. In addition to thinking positively, we can get motivation from others. In Mrs. Wood's presentation, she showed us a clip from a basketball game. The player was making a free throw and missed. His head was down. He wasn't feeling too good about it, and he was kind of sad. Then one of his teammates came over and told him to pick his chin up, because it's okay. It happens. That not everything's going to be perfect like that. After you get through that day, it's good to reflect on the good things that happen, not the bads. Sorry. In Katie Wood's presentation, she said that at night you should tell yourself 3 things that you're grateful for. And it can't be just like, oh, I'm grateful for my family, or oh, I'm grateful for my friends. It has to be specific stuff. It has to be stuff specific to your day that day. What we can all take away is that it's important to have a positive mindset, to train our brains to focus on the good instead of the bad in situations. And this helps us plan our day, which can hopefully encourage others to have good, positive experiences around us. The more we do this, the more it becomes a part of our lives.
Alex, awesome job. Beautiful. All right, Tommy, you ready?
Hi, everyone. I am Tommy Schultz, and I'm a 6th grader at Thompson Brook School. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. A couple weeks ago, Thompson Brook School was fortunate to have Katie Wood come and speak to us. Her presentation covered many topics, one of which was positivity. Katie told us about positivity and how we can incorporate it into our lives. If I'm telling you right now to not think of a blue alligator, what are you thinking about? I relate that to baseball. When I'm batting and I'm thinking, don't strike out, don't strike out, the outcome is often that I strike out. However, if I'm thinking positively, and I have a better chance of having a better outcome. However, what I found helpful at this little section of the presentation is to have a positive mindset, choose to be happy, and always think positively. Another topic that Katie talked about was kindness. If someone is being kind to you, it's just common sense to be kind back. Simple acts of kindness like helping clean up, passing out papers, or volunteering to help out go so far. However, personal acts of kindness are on another level. Say someone was having a hard time connecting with friends or making friends. Inviting that person into your group or playing with them at recess can make their day. Katie tells us about gratitude and the importance of being thankful. The definition of gratitude is being grateful. However, you cannot be grateful without positivity and kindness. At TBS, we use the CARES values. If we use these values properly, it will be the easiest way that we can express our gratitude to the faculty at TBS. I can also accept my gratitude by thanking you for having me here tonight. Instead of focusing on blue alligators, I'll focus on hitting home runs.
So we have a whole set of future superstars right here, and we hope we left all of you feeling inspired about the power of positivity and the power of these awesome brains right here. So thank you guys.
Excellent. So don't sit down just yet. While you're standing there, I want to acknowledge, thank you for dressing up for us tonight. You look so sharp, and that really means a lot to us that you feel like you wanted to be respected by us, and we feel respected by you. So thank you for that. And you did such a beautiful job with expressing your experience on this. We, as board members and also the full staff, had an opportunity to hear Ms. Woods as well at convocation, so we got to experience her and her energy, but to hear from you how it's actually impacting you, we're so happy for you, because this is a great way to start at your age and take those skills with you every day from here on out. You guys are great ambassadors for this messaging, so thank you for bringing your positivity and reminding us that we need to keep our brains in that place as well. And we would love right now if you would take a picture with us. If you come over to this side behind the table, and parents, if you want to get a picture too, please certainly come in the center and we'll look at. Oh, sure.
I wanted to get a picture too, but I just wanted to say I was so grateful that I was here today to hear what you guys had to say, because I was thinking to myself as an adult, I think sometimes I'll be walking through the mall and I'm like really stressed, and I'm so stressed I forgot what I was stressed about, but I know I think it got stuck in my, the Raz, and I can't think about what it was. And so now I'm going to reframe it because I was able to hear all of you guys speak today, and you did a really good job, and it made a big impact on me, and I'm really grateful that we got to hear such good stuff from you guys. So thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I
No,
just
no,
had to
I wanna tell them.
have a whole different experience, in the mall.
I want to tell you one thing also. I asked for Mrs. Sardinskas to put that picture up because you could see, obviously that's me. Yes, I actually happen to have the same outfit on, but that's a long story. I did do it on purpose tonight, but for a different reason. It was Barbie week at the high school, so it just happens to be. But that's Katie Wood, for anyone here who may not know. She spoke to us at our faculty and staff convocation, as the board already knows, and that was right after that was over. But I wanted to put it up for all of you to see her again because she wanted to be able to be here tonight to see you do this with us and could not be. So she'll be looking for this recording to be able to catch you doing it on another time. So she wanted me to express to you how grateful she is that you've done all of this work, obviously, the faculty and staff, but tonight is about you and coming into presenting, and it has tied in so nicely to the social emotional growth learning model that we've been working with our students on to see you do these gratitude journals and to explain it tonight. You did fabulously. Thank you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for coming out.
And parents, if you wanted to come get a picture, now's a great time. No, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. We'll get
I think I got wheels here.
Kristen, work your magic. Okay. He's going to work.
I know, I'm like,
I think you need to move in just a tiny bit. You're the most important person. I need you here. Turn this way. There you go. All right. Okay. Yes, I'm in 20. Where do I look? Look in the middle, guys, and then we'll look to the left. Actually, we'll just wait. Anybody who wants to move in to get it back. Go ahead.
That was fantastic. We do have one more person that we'd like to recognize tonight, our fellow board member, Liz Summercorn. We are so grateful for the year and a half that she has served on this board with us. She is stepping down, and if you notice when she stood, for good reasons. She's due any day now, and we are absolutely thrilled for her. And she said I could just say a couple things about her, so I wanted to just say, we are so grateful that you stepped up into this role. You were asked to do that, and you did it wholeheartedly, and we are grateful for the time that you had here. We have a little tradition of having a school bell with your time served engraved on it, so we wanted to give this to you as well. So if you wouldn't mind, a round of applause for Liz. Good stuff tonight. So we know that a lot of the families did come here tonight to celebrate their children and witness this with them. We will not be offended if you would like to dismiss yourselves at this time. You're certainly welcome to stay if you would like to as well. But thank you for coming out. You did such a great job. We're so proud of you. Thank you. All right. So now we'll move on to the regular meeting. Could I please have a motion to approve the Board of Education regular monthly meeting minutes of September 26, 2023?
So moved.
Thank you, Laura. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Thage. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Communication from the public. Do we know if anyone signed up?
I think someone has.
Okay. 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 Certainly come forward and just, again, state your name and your address for the record. And actually, I have to be consistent here. We have just instructions as to how this works, and I try to do that every time we have someone speaking, so bear with me for one moment. This is the section of our meeting where Avon residents have the floor to share their thoughts and/or concerns with the board. It's not an opportunity for conversation, but rather it's the board's chance to listen to feedback from the community. Please add your name to the list. Ms. Sardinskis will then call you in order. You must state your name and address for the record. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. In an effort to hear as many of you as we can, we must adhere to this time limit. You can certainly state that you agree or disagree with a previous comment if you'd prefer to be brief. Brevity will allow more attendees to be heard. After 15 minutes are up, the board may choose to extend public comment or not. No speaker will include charges or complaints of a personal nature against any individual Avon Board of Education member or individual employee of the Avon Board of Education, whether the speaker names the individual or not. Please refrain from clapping or cheering. Ms. Sardinskis will be our timekeeper tonight. If you should reach 2.5 minutes, she'll alert you with a 30-second warning, and at the 3-minute mark, you'll be alerted again to signal that your time is up. We welcome your engagement and participation. Thank you for listening to that.
Can I just turn this so I don't trip? Okay. Do I start? Megan Gangard, 16 Brownstone Drive. I've been here before a couple of times. I'm here to, again, talk about the reading and writing workshop model that we have adopted in Avon. So I just kind of want to provide a little bit of a timeline. Avon adopted the Readers and Writers Workshop a couple of years ago when it was widely known that this curriculum was not effective, not evidence-based, and was not going to be approved by the state of Connecticut with the Right to Read Act, but we approved it anyway. In fact, just recently, Lucy Calkins, the founder of the Readers and Writers Workshop, was ousted by Teachers College at Columbia as they attempt to distance themselves from her and her curriculum and adopt more of a structured literacy approach. Fast forward, the state comes out with their approved curriculum, and lo and behold, Readers and Writers Workshop, not on there. Some districts, including Avon, lobbied the state for more time. It was granted. And then the same districts lobbied for waivers. I believe Avon did apply for that waiver and is currently waiting to find out if it's been approved. I think we find out November 1st. We can certainly talk about unfunded state mandates. I'm not a fan myself. All we want. But the fact of the matter is we do have unequivocal evidence of how best to teach children to read, write, and spell. And we're choosing to continue forward with Readers and Writers Workshop. Just because some children learn to read in spite of the curriculum doesn't make it good, nor effective, nor equitable. I would like to request a few things. One, Board of Ed members who are elected next month do not simply rubber stamp any curriculum like what was done the last time. Don't wait for the state or anyone else to force change. Do what's right for kids. There is much that we can do, much that can be done. We can start by educating ourselves as board members, administrators, and certainly teachers. May I suggest you start with shifting the balance and understanding what I'm talking about, of shifting the balance and what that means. And then with a critical lens, start looking at assessment tools that we use in our schools, resources that we're using that can really switch to align with evidence-based practices. Finally, find teachers in your district who know about structured literacy. It's not just phonics. That's a piece, but it's not just phonics. And there are plenty who do know. They probably didn't learn through college. they probably learned on their own volition because they wanted to do what was best for children and to teach them with best practices. And there are plenty of other resources. I'm happy to share at any time. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gangard. Do we have anyone else? Christine? All right. Our next portion is items of information and proposals. We saw that Nikolai decided to come back. That's a good sign. So Nikolai and Lillian will allow you to decide who wants to go first to present as the student reps.
So this month for PGS, PGS is highlighting the importance of attendance as students who arrive on time are able to ease into their day, hear morning announcements, and be part of the classroom morning meeting. These predictable routines set students up for a successful day. Unity Day, October 18th. Unity Day is an annual event occurring during National Bullying Prevention Month in October that promotes joining together to create healthier communities through kindness, acceptance, and inclusion. Students in PGS will be wearing orange on October 18th to fight against bullying. Due to the recent stomach bug going around PGS, the nurses highly recommended parents to keep their children home from school if they have a fever or show any signs of sickness to try and battle the cold. Halloween Day and Parade. The whole school is invited to dress up on Halloween Day and participate in the parade at 9:15 a.m. Parents are welcome to gather along the playground side of the building to view the parade. Students at PGS are now being taught internet safety to try and educate what and what not to do on social media / the internet. This month for RBS, students at RBS are learning more about how they can demonstrate the 3 Bs. Those are being nice, being safe, and always trying our best. These pillars are set to demonstrate the values of the school and are helping students become better in the classroom and better individuals. Parents are struggling to remember their photo ID when coming to grab their children from school, so RBS is making an effort to remind these parents and enforce the rule that you need your photo ID in order to pick up your child. And important dates for this month: Yom Kippur, 9/25, PTO, Back to School Social, 9/29, PTO, October Book Fair, 10/2 to 10/6, and Columbus Day, no school, 10/9.
So there's going to be early dismissal October 18th for all students for the Teachers Workshop. For AHS, PSAT Day was on the 11th. Grades 9 through 11th took the test, and seniors had workshops for college and future planning. And speaking of the PSAT, the class of 2024 had 21 honorable mentions. That's the top 34,000 students out of 1.8 million test takers and 5 national merit semifinalists, who are out of the top 16,000 in the country. And it's homecoming week, so students are showing off their school spirit, and Dr. Bridget Carlmola is in the pink. We're having a full school pep rally on the 19th, and then homecoming royals will be announced on the 20th at the Friday football game. Finally, we're going to have the homecoming dance on Saturday. The in-school college fair will also be October 20th, and students will be able to talk to admissions representatives. The NEACS members were in the high school today and yesterday, and will be hopefully saying good things. And finally, we have the Halloween parade with the kindergartners. For AMS, Unity Day is scheduled for October 18th, which is tomorrow, and people are wearing orange to stand up against bullying. The 8th graders have their Boston field trip on October 25th, and this month we are focusing on executive functioning skills and positive self-concept for all the students. Finally, at TBS, they had a guest speaker, Mrs. Katie Woods, who we already learned about, and the Sturbridge Village field trip already happened.
Thank you. So much going on in the buildings. All right. Next is our financial report with Ms. Russo.
Good evening. Month of September was relatively quiet month, I'll say financially. We have a small highlights memo, including our administrative salaries as we navigate the changes still at Roaring Brook. Our RBS interim principal, assistant principal, currently is just encumbered part of the year. That's the remaining savings in that line. We have some positive balances along the teacher lines due to unfilled stipend positions or yet stipend positions such as coaching that are not yet encumbered. In our non-certified salary line, we had some variances due to additional hours worked by our nursing staff at field trips. Our custodian maintainers continue to have some staff movement due to FMLA and other leaves. And our teaching assistants, we continue to onboard them throughout the month of September, even into October. So those additional encumbrances are showing there. Budget transfer 202418 shows the offset of deficits from the savings lines, and did correct one typo on a transfer the month before. In special education, we talked about it a little bit last month. We were still encumbering, and we're still getting those final contracts, transportation invoices. So you'll see in the month of October's financials more of those items encumbered. And we have seen already some increased student needs, pricing, and route changes that have caused some deficits in those transportation lines. And we can talk about those when we get to our next Finance Committee meeting. We ended the month of September with a little over 10.9% available, or $7.2 million, in reference to last year at this time of $5.4 million, or 8.44%. One of the major drivers of that difference is our Kelly Services, which are substitute service vendor. That was encumbered in October, as well as the coaching and other stipends and positive balances that I already mentioned.
Does anybody have any questions for Susan? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So now we'll move on to our committee reports, curriculum and professional practices. Jackie.
Thanks, Deb. We are meeting next Tuesday. I think most likely it will be remote, but if that changes, we'll post it in time for people to join, but it sounds like it's going to be a remote meeting.
All right, thank you. Finance, Lynn?
Hi, thanks, Deb. Again, we met on October 10th and reviewed the financial highlights, as we just did. As Susan just did, review the transfers and the specifics regarding the capital improvement requests that we're going to be looking at tonight. We've decided to cancel the November meeting, which is scheduled for November 8th. It's not needed. We do meet every month, so when we cancel a meeting, it's news, but we will be meeting on December 12th. That will be our next meeting.
Thank you. Next would be negotiations. The board is not currently actively negotiating with a group at this time. Policy, Laura.
The policy committee did not meet in October, but we will be meeting in November.
Excellent, thank you. Our liaison report for CREC. Jackie?
Their meeting is tomorrow, and just to keep up with tradition, we're
Yes.
back on track.
All right, excellent, thank you. All right, so next would be my board chair update. I'm highly impressed with the students that were chosen to come and present tonight. They were fantastic, and I was so impressed, even just the ability to look at their notes and then give the words without, that's a skill that you don't normally see, I think, at that age. So the fact that Avon is producing that at such a young age is quite impressive, and incredibly proud of what you all are doing with them, and so grateful for this rounding out of their experience here. So not just the academics, but also the humanity of it and the kindness. So thank you for choosing well, and I apologize that I wanted to call you by your first names. I feel like I have to be more formal when I'm up here, so sorry, Susan. But other than that, I think the school year is off to a great start. We're incredibly grateful for that. Just moving along, the budget's going to be coming up soon, so we just appreciate all of the time and effort that is going in on a regular basis, so thank you for that. So I will pass it on to Dr. Carnamola for the superintendent report.
Thank you. Go ahead. We'll start with the hiring. Thank you, Mr. Medic.
Good evening. As you can see in the packet for the month of October, we continue to work to fill positions in our non-certified areas. We had a very strong month, bringing on some individuals to fill the role of nutrition service employees, teaching assistants, as well as some long-term substitutes. We did see some resignations in non-certified positions as well. And in particular, I'd like to recognize two individuals who have announced their retirement. First, Sharon Major, who has worked for the district for 20 years. The last 18 as a paraeducator, most recently here at Avon High School. And I know she's already enjoying some fun in the sun in Florida. We want to thank Sharon for all of her work with some of our most impacted students over the years. And in addition, Ms. Sarah Parsons, who joined Avon Public Schools in August 1989, has announced her retirement, and she will be departing in November. And many people know Ms. Parsons from her time in various schools. She's a special education teacher, and she works with many of our students with autism or other very impacted students. And we want to thank Sarah for her 34 years of dedicated service to the students and to the community of Avon.
Thank you. And just briefly on the enrollment report, and keep my update brief as a whole, we have capital improvement to go through tonight, which should take us a bit of time, and teacher evaluation. So in short, as you can see, still climbing the numbers a bit. We are up 12 from the same time last year. Just still steady with enrollments and students moving out, but when houses are sold, but generally speaking, students moving back in and at a higher rate at this point. So Susan, speaking of this, Susan Rousseau and I met with the SLAM collaborative that's been doing the space and utilization study for us last week, posed a couple more questions, and I expect that you may see them back here with us by the next board meeting, if not maybe December, where they're working on a few more things for us. Thank you. And I already thanked the students. I thank the high school administrators and Mr. Kramick, who is the senior class advisor, and our PTO, a couple of whom are here with us tonight. Gearing up, it's, as you heard, it's Spirit Week and homecoming dance on the way, and praying for good weather for our students. Saturdays in the last, I don't know how many months, haven't turned out very well, but we'll pray to the rain gods and whoever else will listen, I guess. And I just want to thank you again as the PTO for the assistance in making it a great event for the students, and looking forward to it, looking forward to the homecoming game. Had a great bonfire last week. It's been a pretty exciting time at high school. I'm not the only one here that's dressed in the Barbie colors. You can see some folks back there. I think Stephanie actually did a better job than I did. But thank you again for making it a great time for our seniors.
So next is the consent calendar. Barring any desire to remove an item from the consent calendar, do I have a motion to approve it as is?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. No old business. Now, new business, our budget timeline. Dr. Carnamola. Page 21 in the packet, if that helps.
Thank you. So these are the dates that are set by the town. We just wanted to bring them for review. They don't need any action. It's really just to ensure that we're all on the same page, and the board knows when we are expected to comply with the timeline of documents being turned in versus presentations. Oh my goodness, a spider just fell on me from somewhere. Hold on, okay. Well, nothing like that to take you off your game, I guess. So we are doing our capital improvement budget a little bit earlier this year. We're doing it on the first night that the town is doing it, which is why we wanted to be sure we had it here to you tonight. But generally speaking, for anyone that might be new to the board, I don't know that anybody here wasn't here last year for this, but we are present at the capital improvement budget presentation on the town side, anyone that can be, but there is no expectation of actual participation by board members. Miles, Susan, and I present on the town side. If you're able to be there in person, you're certainly welcome to do that. We're usually asked some good questions when we do the presentation. And also, I believe they will offer the ability for you to be online if you need to be also, but we will be there in person. And then, as you can see, it just starts to be a very quick turnaround. We need to take action before the end of January, typically, because as you can see on Thursday, February 1st, the town requires our budget to already have been passed on the board side and turned in its entirety. So we are furiously working behind the scenes already, have been for some time. I want to thank the building administrators, department coordinators, and school clerical staff, as well as our own business office and central office administrators, because it is a lot of work that happens before we're even out of the gate within the next month. Any questions on the timeline? So when we get to next year, you see Monday, April 1st, public hearing on the budget. That we will be there as an entire board, along with myself and Susan. And then again, we have the town budget and meeting on May 6th that we are all there again. There's one TBD date still in there. at the Board of Finance meeting. As soon as we find that out, we will let you know. That's actually the first time that we need to be there as a whole. It's a tough year because of where the holidays fall, the Jewish holidays, Christian holiday of Good Friday, and the school break. So it's making the month of April difficult on the town side and our side to schedule these.
Any questions from board members? Good, so we don't need to vote. This is purely
is
for
it.
information.
Yep.
Log these into your calendar. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
we're gonna get the ball rolling on that quickly. So next, we'll invite Mr. Altimus forward to present the Avon capital improvement projects.
Good evening. Miles Altimus, Director of Operations. With the next fiscal year presentation on the recommended capital improvement projects.
While Ms. Sardinskas pulls it up, I'll say, those of you who were able to be with us at the Board of Finance meeting, you won't see much very different tonight. We've clarified a couple of things, added in a couple of photos to give it some more context, and otherwise, I don't think you'll see very much that you hadn't seen already, but.
Go to the next one. Okay, just a little bit of history. These were the ARPA COVID grant money that we've received. Most of those projects, 2 of those projects are done. The carpet and the air valve replacements are still ongoing. Next slide, please. This is last year's projects that we received. They're all in various states of completion or starting. And then present time, these are 2 slides worth of the recommended projects for next year. They are in a recommended priority order. And just one comment on the costs. That's the best we have at this point, but working with the town, they will let us update the costs about the end of January to get it a little bit, as we get closer to execution in July, a little bit more realistic costs as prices fluctuate. Next slide, please. And going beyond, again, looking at in the future, these are some of the projects that we're looking at beyond the next year. I think you all have these in your packets. Next slide. Okay, going into what our requests are, one is just finishing up the roof here at the high school. Phase 1 we just completed. Going to the next slide. This year we're asking for $425,000 to complete. In the next slide, that area will be the area in the blue square. Areas 1 and 2 to your right, what was done this past year. So we'll be doing the other areas, which is the old gym, the gallery, and the loading dock. Next one is a door entrance system. You go to the next slide, please. There's 2 of these in the back of the middle school. Basically, the doors jammed, we can't open them. If we can't open them, we have trouble securing them. So you can get out for emergencies, but they're not used on a regular basis. Next slide, to give you an idea what it is, on the left-hand slide, that's the bottom of the door. The white you see at the bottom is the outside. And on the right, that's one of the large panes above the door. And again, that white vertical line is the outdoors. To upgrade the electrical system at middle school, we've run into some issues that we've tried to do some modifications and improvements at the school. So we have to take a hard look and upgrade the electrical system. We are working with the town building official on these. And this will be a multi-year project, and we're going to just start off with the $100,000 to get us going. We've done a few things this year out of operational funds, but it's going to be a bigger project than that. Just continuing on with floor replacements in the schools as tiles come up, and it gets to the point where we can't just fix it. Central office, I'm sure you all seen our central office. This is some of the building improvements we're going to ask for funds for. Again, this is just to get us started. These are some of the projects that we're looking at we could possibly do to mitigate some of the conditions down at the central office. Next slide, please. Again, it's just you've all seen the building. That's the back. A little bit close up. On the right on the window there on the gray, you can dig that out with your finger if you wanted to. The bathrooms are not ADA compliant. Okay, the interior lock replacement, we're just going to continue on with that project with the Roaring Brook coming up for, next in the queue. Course replacement at the Thompson Brook. The history on this is last time we did it was in fall 2021. We tried a different technique. That's how much we spent on it, and it didn't last very long. Basically, the cracks are weak point, they're sliding, they're separating, and we got pictures of that. Go back to the first one, please. So this year, the basketball court alone has that much damage. If we did it properly, like we're doing with the middle school tennis courts, it would cost us $45,000. So $100,000 gets us a more modern basketball court to start with. And it's the same system they just did at Sycamore here at the town. Next slide, please. That sure gives you an idea. That's half the basketball court right there. What you see in the different color blue, that's what was repaired back in the fall of 2021. Those are cracks still there. So you can see the spider webbing network that goes all throughout there. And the next slide, just some of the worst ones. And again, that's the worst thing on the left. That's an inch wide crack there. But you see on the right, when the cracks start to meet up and form triangles, and then pieces will come up off of it. We know they go. Roaring Brook, new playground there for the pre-K and kindergarten. It needs to be done for the accreditation of the pre-K program and just basically modernize it. Next slide, please. I think you've all seen pictures. You know what the playground looks like. Security upgrades, again, just continuing as Jim Conley identifies needs with the police department. That's what this money is for, so we can act on it. We don't have to wait for the funding. Next slide, please. We finish up the high school roof next year, hopefully. It's time to get started on the Thompson Brook roof. This is the same model we used for the high school. We get an architect in, design it, to keep track of the roofers throughout the project to make sure it's done correctly. And those are our projects. The next two slides are just a summary of, again, what the projects are.
Thank you, Miles. Did board members have any questions or comments about? Go ahead, Jeff.
Just a general question. We know we had extensive flooding at central office last month. Have we remedied the issues that caused the flooding, or are those remedies built into the request for next year?
We believe we've remedied the situation.
Okay.
So to give you some details, Jeff, so we raised the parking lot level around the underground fuel tank cover. That was done by the town at no cost to the Board of Ed. We filled in a conduit pipe that was causing, if you saw the video, what was causing the flooding. That was filled in by like a foam sort of thing, so almost no cost there. We contacted Eversource about the power conduit pole outside that's melted. We're still waiting them to repair it, but we don't believe that's the main cause of the water damage. We dried out and cleaned out the electrical terminals and replaced the fuses. That had a cost. It was only $467. Not thousand, sorry, just so you know. Only $467. Yeah. Sorry.
That's it, we're fired.
Had to keep it a little light. And then we contacted the contractors for the gutters and basement windows. That's what you see as a possible project on the Capitol. Miles has put together on there, the gutters and the windows would be something we would try to address if we're able to get funding for the Capitol.
Just one follow-up if I can. I understand that the weather situation was an extreme situation. Are we confident that these repairs we've done should prevent it again? I understand. I won't commit anyone to, yes, absolutely. But we're confident at this point we've remedied the situation, we've band-aid the situation enough until we can get additional improvements.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Go ahead, Jackie.
I am very sorry to see the state of central office. Really, that's the first time I've seen those pictures up close, and that was eye-opening to me. I'm very, very, very concerned to hear that the bathrooms are not compliant. I was unaware of that, and I'm very sorry to hear that. I don't know how long that kind of an upgrade will take. If we were to take this up in the next budget, will that restroom be remediated soon?
No.
Okay. And the basketball court, so if we were to do it right this time, would they also, I just don't understand why, does somebody also paint over and redo the line so it's not, doesn't look so?
What'll happen with this project is they'll just rip it all off and they'll lay down a new basketball court completely. And they'll include the painting of the lines, that's part of it. I got it from the same model the town did on Sycamore. I've got all their information. And we'll do it about the same way.
So it's not a patching, it's really a whole new
It's a whole new court.
system.
It's milling it down, removing it, and putting in a new one. And it'll be put in with more modern techniques than what was done back in 2001 to keep that slippage and the cracking from happening, we hope.
Well, thanks for bringing that all to us in such speedy and also visually clear way. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
I just want to, no is a sentence, but I want to elaborate a little bit more under some circumstances on why the answer is no to would we be looking at fixing the bathrooms, if, say in the next cycle. And the reason that we have not proposed bringing the bathrooms up to code is because it's really not possible with the current structure of the building. I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more to that, Miles.
No, it would take a lot to put in ADA stalls, widen
The doorways.
the door, everything.
We would have to change the layout entirely to be able, if you've been there, it's a, because it's set up still to be a school, you saw the pictures, it's called a quote gang bathroom, it means there's more than one stall. So there's the female restroom, there's a small closet in between the two, and there's the male restroom door. There's not enough space between one and the other to maintain two bathroom entrances and widen those doorways enough even to make the doorways compliant to get inside. So we would need some pretty major construction at central office to make them ADA compliant.
Is the building itself ADA compliant?
You can get in. You can't do very much after you're inside besides be in the hallway, and I'm not even sure which offices that we might,
Might be able to get into the office,
maybe,
but it would be a
maybe,
struggle.
maybe. Some, depending on what the nature of the accommodation was that was needed, wheelchair versus.
Right.
I would say, just briefly, from just digesting this first, I know it's a finance meeting, I was not, but that's really something that I think that we have to really support and initiate or something. I just don't think that can function like that anymore. I'm not sure how to advocate best for that, but it's a real concern of mine to hear that.
I will say, though, we have been able to, yes, the bathroom's not ADA compliant, but we have been able to accommodate our employees, even myself, who was on, if you remember, a scooter. So we have been able to work around it. So none of our employees have been outs, so to speak, if they've had an issue. We've made a change to even a stall, to help with someone else's accommodation. So we've been able to make subtle little things
Right.
so somebody can get in. It's the wheelchair and the other ADA compliance issues that we're talking about.
Right. The wheelchair accessibility in the bathrooms is the main problem. We have a ramp to come in and out.
So at the finance meeting, we spoke at length about central office and asked a lot of questions, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I walked away with the impression that it would cost up to millions of dollars to really make that building work for our central office staff in every aspect of making it work. So you're requesting $75,000 to just get through the year, but we've also talked at length about the need to find an alternative home for central office.
I don't know if you want to speak to them. report, Susan?
Yes,
Or you want
so
me to?
Mr. Altman and I have been working with the town manager's office. They've done a facility study similar to the one we did with SLAM, but actually just specifically for the conditions of central office and what that means and what it would look like to modernize it, to bring it up to compliance, and then to actually renovate and expand it.
Upgrade the electrical system, replace
Upgrade
the
everything,
boiler,
water
plumbing,
heater, everything. That report has not been presented yet to town council, which is why we're not presenting it to you yet, but once it is, we can update you on that report. But that is really going to inform any decision-making process on the town side on what we're doing moving forward. We've put this on because we do have this time between now when the board approves the capital plan and when we finalize it. As you remember last year, you've approved the plan, but we continue to work with the town, collaborate with them on the projects, and the pricing came in different as we continue to get quotes. We have revised those. We have our ballpark figures now, but we continue to revise that all the way up until the February 2nd date that the town has their workshop. They have that all-day workshop on that Saturday. We'll continue to work with them, and we may or may not have some answers or some progress that'll inform where we stand with central office after that.
Laura.
Just having been on this board for 8 years and seeing the amount of money that has had to go in every year to put an ugly Band-Aid on an ugly situation there, it's just, for me as a board member, it's so shocking to see that people have to work in this building where there has been mold and vermin and risks to the people who work there. I feel at this point that it's unsustainable, and I don't know what it would take in terms of from us as a board to push it forward in a way that isn't just continuously putting a Band-Aid on difficult situation there. So whatever the superintendent needs from us, I would hope, I know I was very supportive at the finance meeting, and I will say I'm very supportive here in finding an alternative, because this is unsustainable.
Thank you. I think we're working closely with the town manager, and I'm hoping we're able to bring something back soon. Because the town commissioned the study that was done, it has to be presented on their side first, and then I can share it with you.
Do we know when that's being presented to them?
I believe it will be at one of the upcoming, if not the upcoming meeting. When it was given to the town, it was already too late to go on the last agenda. I know that.
So my follow-up is, because I know many of us have been vocal about this for quite some time, about the state of central office. I, for one, have been very vocal about tearing it down and giving us something new for a lot of the same things that Laura had listed. Is there a particular reason why, and I don't know if you can answer this, it's not on the capital proposal to just build a new building, right? You can't give us other options until we get the report? Or is this something that could be added to the capital improvement budget later?
Do you want to speak to that? I know I can add my sense in, but it's not the purpose of the capital improvement.
It's not the
really.
purpose of ours. The town owns the buildings, we're maintaining them.
Right.
So the town, and that's why we're working so collaboratively with the town manager, they would propose it, and there's long-term debt issues depending on where we go, renovation versus construction versus
lease, if they were to find a spot.
So there's a lot that goes into that the town would have to commit their assets to. So that's why we're working collaboratively. We're working with them, not against them on the project.
So we have brought totals of things, boiler, and we have a running list. We have presented that on the town side. And as you know, we've had to prioritize each year whichever one of these, kind of using the word you use, Band-Aids it will be, to keep us in service for the next year. But this has certainly been a conversation the entire time that I've been here, and I think it started before my time with the board and previous administration. But as time goes on and there's been more damage done to the building as a result of, example, the flooding that came through. Yes, we've remediated it. There was still damage done to the building. So and it continues to be, the weather does additional damage to the siding, to the windows and so on. We've come to the point where it's not worth continuing to put the money into it. And I think everyone is aware of that now and on the town side too. So I'm hopeful that we're going to come to a resolution sooner than later. I don't think anything will happen overnight because to Susan's point, this is a process that needs to happen on the town side. Let's just say, for example, that, well, if it was new construction, that would be an entire lengthy process, finding the land, which, surveying, putting things out to bid before anything was even built. If it's finding space for us that exists somewhere else, there's still pieces that have to be determined there from the financial end. Is it appropriate for the town to lease the space? Would that be a waste of money depending on the space that it is and the price per square foot and so on? Those are some of the conversations that we've had. How much commercial space is there in town that would work for us? We do have some specific needs. We do want a building to be ADA compliant. We need a loading dock, for example, because all of our bigger inventory is kept at central office, including much of our technology equipment. And the way it's delivered, we don't have a loading dock right now, and we've had a number of problems with that. We need record space and so on. So our space needs are unique in those ways, and it's not been easy. I think even if 3 years ago, let's say, we had the same conversation and the town council and the Board of Finance, everyone agreed, that's it, let's find a new building, I'm not sure it would have been. We have looked, as you know. It has not been easy to find a spot, and we've looked at the space in the schools and other options there, and nothing has come to fruition just yet. But I do know that my understanding is on the town side, they're not willing to dump a whole, bunch more of taxpayer dollars into a building that's in this condition.
So for our purposes, the capital improvement plan that we present is really sort of dealing with the wear and tear of the
Long-term
existing
maintenance, short-term and long-term
facilities.
maintenance, yes.
So discussions of a new building, whether it be central office, and I know we've had conversations regarding the state of the middle school as well.
Right.
That would have to be a town decision.
Yes.
That would appear, this is where we get into the world of the budget again.
Mhm.
It'd appear on the town side of capital improvement.
Correct.
Even though we will end up, I know not taking ownership isn't the wrong word because the town owns everything.
Yes, you're correct.
Before we occupy the space.
We would be the custodians of the building, yes.
Right, okay, thank you.
However, I think they would, on the flip side, look for a recommendation from us. So at a certain point, this report will be shared on the town side, we'll share it with the board, and at a certain point, I believe the way this process will go, and I say this only because I've seen this done on the building end, for example, when a new renovation was needed for a school or a school needed to be built, the board will have to make the recommendation that we move forward in whatever the direction it is that we're determining once we know that. And then the town council can say, okay, put it to the Board of Finance, if something has to go out to bid, if something has to go out for bond approval, whatever it may be, the town will look back to the Board of Ed to make a decision and accept whatever the plan is moving forward
So
before they do anything.
I'm sorry, Laura, we should not expect to see the town, after the report, say, oh, we need to put this into the town side capital improvement.
They're going to come back to us and
Because it's going to be
say,
a longer process. So this is
Correct.
definitely not something we will see in the upcoming budget, but it may be something that they will have to plan for down the road.
I will say I have had a conversation that possibly if something were to arise in the
Right.
next
We
3
found
to
the right
6 months, we could pivot the $75,000 that we have for Band-Aids to something like a facility, not a study, like a plan, an architect fee or something, so we could pivot that amount that the board's already recommended. So that we have, they appreciate that we've put that into the plan, so it gives them that flexibility.
Thank you.
Laura.
So Jeff, you mentioned that while the town owns the buildings, we are the custodians of the buildings, and it is not for lack of asking. Can you please clarify, Susan, that for the typical and Miles would know the answer to this too, the typical list that we send to the town and ask for, what is the typical percentage cut that we end up being faced with once the budget actually is passed?
In the 2.5 years I've been here, they haven't reduced anything, but I don't know the preference or the history before I came.
Right. So in the past, there had been, unfortunately, because everybody obviously is trying to be fiscally responsible, and we have aging infrastructure. We have buildings that are very old, and it's not for lack of asking or lack of trying. That's what I'm trying to get at, is that we are trying to be good custodians, but at the end of the day, the dollar only goes so far.
My experience since I've come on with you has been, it shifted a bit from maybe the first year or so, if I remember correctly, where it was approved, the capital budget was approved up to X dollar amount, and we brought them, I think our standard way of doing it, and some of you have been here much longer than I have, even as board members, was let's take them everything, knowing that we're not going to get the entirety of it because it's over what they would want to approve from a total dollar standpoint. We revamped how we did it a bit in the time that I've been here, both as the administration and the board, and we've stayed within the window of funding that we know the town is typically able to approve from their capital side. And that's usually, a max of somewhere, if I remember correctly, around 850,000. We've asked for more than that if we've needed it because there's been security upgrades and things like that. But generally speaking, we prioritize knowing that that's around the ceiling of what is acceptable on the capital side with town, instead of bringing $10 million worth of projects and then having to argue for months about which ones it will be that move forward. We take the ones forward that we know absolutely have to be done.
Yeah.
Break things into phases.
Right. In our outlook for our 5-year, and here we had really a global summary of an outlook, but Miles does a much more detailed outlook of those projects and puts them in years and puts them with a little bit more of a dollar amount on it, so we are moving forward and telling them we'll need 1 million, 1.1 this year, and if we keep where we are in priorities, it could be 2 million next year. And yes, we have to, depending on what happens, reevaluate that, to your point, Laura, and prioritize. But we do give them that data to inform their decisions and know that perhaps 800,000 isn't enough, as we had last year.
And so I will just reiterate that your safety and the safety of the staff that's in that building is paramount to us. So if the board needs to do anything expeditiously to assist in this process, we are all willing to do so. We're hoping that this is solved sooner than later. And if a special meeting is required, I'm certain I wouldn't get a hard time from anybody at this table. So we are very concerned that you are safe, and we know that you would make that decision to evacuate if needed. We just don't want to put you in that position again. Again is the word, right? So
It's keeping us on our toes.
yes, well, just know.
I won't say keeping us young.
Yeah.
It's aging us and keeping us on our toes, more like it.
Yes. So we support getting you out of there as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Were there any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks,
We appreciate
Miles.
that. All right. Our next piece is the Avon, you need us to approve this?
Yes.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the capital improvement budget as presented for the projects?
So moved.
Thank you, Sarah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jackie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. All right. Next is our teacher evaluation model, the updates that have occurred. Is this for Jess? Roberto. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As the members of the board are aware, each year we do present an overview of our teacher evaluation model, as well as the full teacher evaluation plan to you, which is contained in your packet for your review and ultimately your approval. This year, we went through and examined some of the flexibilities that the State Department of Education continued to allow districts to have related or regarding their plan. Particularly over the last 2 years, the Connecticut State Board of Education and a subcommittee has worked on revising the educator evaluation model and the framework and the various items associated with that. In lieu of that, they've continued to offer flexibilities to districts that they began during the COVID-19 pandemic. So this year, we took a look at those flexibilities and we worked with our local curriculum professional development committee here to identify areas of our plan that we would look to maintain, but also look to maybe revise or be innovative with. So we made some changes to our plan this year, focusing on teacher goal plans in particularly, and we streamlined some of the types of evaluations and observations that are part of that. Our CPDC PDEC committee worked with our district and building administrators to craft the plan that's presented in your packet, and we also sought feedback and collaboration from our local teachers union to get them on board with some of the proposed changes that we made. So Christine, if you want to go to the next slide. Just to highlight, we saw some redundancy in our plan, and based on what's allowed with flexibilities, we started to examine what we could do for early career educators. So these are folks who are in year 1 or year 2 of their professional career in general, not just here in the district. They have to participate in a beginning teacher program called the Connecticut Team Module, and we worked within the flexibilities allowed by the state to incorporate the goal plans that they have to create as part of CT Team to be their goal plan for their initial 2 years with us here in Avon. That was something that was unanimously supported by our CPDC PDEC committee as part of the plan, because all of us who are educators went through either Connecticut Team, or some people went through what was called the BEST program. With that said, we also examined, just give me 1 second. We also examined some of the number of observations and types of observations that we are conducting. In particular, the state allowed us with the flexibilities to determine if we wanted to continue to use a formal observation, which is that longer period of time that administrators are in classrooms to conduct observations, or if we wanted to incorporate more what's called an informal observation, which are shorter duration. So we opted to go with the informal model for our tenured staff, and that will allow us to have shorter opportunities in the classroom, but more frequent throughout the year. So we'll be able to capture more opportunities with our staff and working with students, and see things more in an organic way than with a very structured, formal plan or formal process. Yes, Lynn?
And these are not scheduled, they're just.
The informals are not
Right.
scheduled. So hence the organic piece of it, we're able to go in and out of the classrooms and see in real time how things are going. Also, it reduces the amount of paperwork that has to be done both by the teacher with the various forms in the pre and post conference, and also how much evidence has to be collected in a 45 to 60-minute observation. So we increased the number of those informals in certain categories as well. Thais, question?
Yes, Roberto. Is there a minimum amount of informals that administration is targeting?
So we will be doing 3 for those individuals who are in our tenure track, and that was consistent with what was in our plan. You probably remember in previous years we had a category 3A, 3B, and 3C, and those were in place to rotate so that people did a formal observation once every 3 years, and they did 3 formals in the other 2. So we just streamlined it to make category 3 one opportunity for the informals. This is also something that we saw in the guidelines that the state released in June. They are looking for districts to go more into a model of shorter duration but more frequent observation. So this is somewhat our trial of seeing how that works for us as well. Yes, Nicole.
Will there be feedbacks after each informal
Yes, there will be
observation?
written feedback that's provided in a timely manner to the teacher that goes through our online system that we use for our observation. And then that feedback also will be incorporated at various goal conferences, either at the mid-year point or end-of-year point as well. And one piece that we're very excited about for all of our teachers beginning in their third year in the profession or their first year with us after being tenure in another district, we have created two models for them to do their annual goal plans. We are going to keep the standard student learning objective individual indicators of academic growth and performance. That's the SLO IAGD. We've had that for quite some time in our evaluation plan. This year, we opted to create a self-designed self-study in which the teacher will be allowed to craft their own plan that will identify a student or staff learning need and design a plan that will address that need, with the focus being on improving educator practice as well as student learning results. That's something that our local teachers association had been talking to us about for several years, and we worked with them and our CPDC committee to put a process in place to see how that would work. So we're very excited for that. That was something that we received a lot of positive feedback on from the members of CPDC and also some staff who were our early adopters and already designed some self-studies for us to provide them feedback on to serve as exemplars for their colleagues. So that will be an interesting piece for us to tackle this year and see how it works, to see if it's something we want to continue to incorporate in our plan. And just so the board is aware, we are giving folks who participate in that self-study the opportunity to do it as an individual or collaboratively as part of a grade level team or an academic department. Because again, oftentimes it ties in with the work we're doing in our CLTs across the district as well. And then the last slide, Christine, if you can, thank you. This is just a brief update on educator evaluation in Connecticut as a whole, not simply our plan. The Connecticut State Board of Education did issue their, approve and issue their educator evaluation guidelines on June 15th, 2023. So we received that in June, and we worked on breaking those down over the summer. The Connecticut State Department of Education is giving all school districts in the state this school year to review those guidelines and craft a plan that aligns to them for us to implement for the 24-25 school year. Our process here, we will be using our CPDC committee to engage in some of that work in designing our model and looking at what pieces we want to keep from our current plan, but also what new innovative practices we want to bring in. And also our administrative team and members of our CPDC PDEC are already participating in some professional development opportunities that are being hosted by the State Department of Ed, as well as some national organization looking at kind of the revisions to educator evaluation as a whole. So that kind of is the Reader's Digest version of the very lengthy plan.
I had a quick question. I think you just touched on this, but for the shorter, the more informal,
Yep.
it sounded like, from the CPDC, there's some feedback that already that would be, a positive change. But is that something that's considered when you're reviewing each year to kind of see if you'd stick
We've
with
had
that?
those informal observations as part of our plan historically for quite some time. What we're seeing and what Jess and I took a look at through the new guidelines that were released, that's really an area that the state is asking districts to go to moving forward, looking at those shorter, more frequent opportunities for observation, coupled with timely, explicit, clear feedback for that segment of time that you're looking. So for us, we decided as a committee as a whole to kind of look and see how can that informal process work if that was the main model as opposed to having the larger formal observation. So
Yeah, it seems great. Just was curious on the ongoing, viewing of it, but it's exciting to see.
are there any other questions I could answer?
And we appreciate the collaboration that takes place in order to get us to this place of approving another version, but there's buy-in, so that's always helpful. All right, so you're looking for us to approve this, correct? All right, so do I have a motion to approve the Avon Public Schools teacher evaluation model as presented?
So moved, Deb.
Thank you, Thage. Do I have a second? Thank you, Nicole. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. All right, communication from the public. Don't know if anyone else.
Through the chair, while we're waiting, it occurred to me right after I finished speaking that I referred to Mr. Kramick incorrectly. He's the student government advisor, and I believe I inadvertently called him the senior class advisor. Whether, not that that's the end of the world, but I wanted to make sure I've said it correctly because he has been doing a ton of work with our students.
Thank you. Okay, no one else has signed up for communication from the public, so now communication from Avon Board of Education members. Anyone? Go ahead, Nicole.
Two things. One, as someone who has both been on the receiving end of teacher observations and having to conduct teacher observations, I'm really happy to see that we're going to have something that's more meaningful, personalized, and ongoing, so changes can be made as needed for both the teachers, the staff, and the students. So thank you for all the work in that. Two, probably a little biased, but to see the kids this morning who happen to be in the same grades and possibly classes as some of my children, it was really nice to see. You know, we always talk about, you know, the bullying, like tomorrow is very special. It's going to be wearing orange and talking about bullying, but to have the kids have self-reflection and self-awareness, I think we're setting them up to be mentally stable and healthy adults, because I think like a lot of us could learn those lessons that they were teaching. So thank you for that. And also thank you to the principals and the PTOs for having piloted in one school, saw the success, and then shared it among the districts. So that's very special. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Nicole. Jeff?
So I do want to take a moment, if I can. Liz is very fond of saying she does not like people who talk for the sake of talking. Unfortunately, I love talking. Deb did it. Deb, you did a great job expressing our gratitude to Liz, but Liz, personally, I wanted to thank you. You came onto this 2 years ago, and most people don't understand really the amount of time these positions take, and particularly the biggest sacrifices when we're often taken away from our families. And you have always lived up to the expectation, and you've done it with true style and grace, despite the heavy personal time that you had to give up with your own kids and your own family. You have been a great confidant. You're someone that I have grown to call a friend, someone I've trusted. You came into this position, forgive me for sharing this, I think you had a fear that people had one perception of you. And I think you really spent the last 2 years demonstrating that you are not that perception and that you were truly here for the right purposes. And that is to improve to provide the highest level of education possible for our students, as well as service to our community. And I personally want to thank you for that. I will miss you tremendously. Best of luck. Congratulations with the baby. Under 3 minutes.
Yes, we want photos.
I'll send.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone else? All right.
If I may.
Sure.
I just publicly want to thank you, Liz. I think you've been fantastic to work with on the board. I think you've put in a lot of time. You were always one of the first to reach out, like all of these board members. I've been lucky to work with all of you to reach out when you really do have questions, you need further clarification. You'll spend the time meeting, talking, whatever it is you need to do to be educated about the decisions that you're making. And I've always really appreciated that about you. I'm sorry to see you go, but I'll look forward to the pictures, and we want to see the cloths and the hats and the entire thing, because and thank you again. I want to thank Christine, who on behalf of the board helped pick out the little baby gifts. But we're sorry to see you go. You've been a great addition, and maybe sometime when life stabilizes, you'll be back.
I hope so. Definitely have to try again. 5 years. Give me 5 years.
To try again to come back, not to try again to have. Just wanted to be clear. She means to come back, not to have any more. She expressed that earlier. Thank you, Liz. Thanks for your support.
Oh, yes.
motion to adjourn.
All right.
What time is it?
All right.
29.
Yes.
Look at that.
Do I have a second? Second? All right, thank you, all in favor. 8:29, Liz, you got it. All right.
Done.
Thank you.